Hello there. This is a VOD review for a 20 the other side. This is going to be my first in a potentially series of coaching videos on tanking. So Spuggies is a friend in the guild. He's our off tank, and he submitted this the other side, looking for some feedback on this dungeon. So let's dive right in.
All the things you could have said, I wasn't expecting you to say. Less D Hakar?
Okay, so I'm gonna skip ahead a
Bro,
little
it's
bit
time.
until they're
I mean, if you
starting
want to
here.
go all the way around, and then we can start an argument.
So I'm going to turn this down because they are talking. So I'll leave it a little bit up so we can hear it, but
Wait,
gonna be talking a lot. So, all
combat.
right, so starting it off. So with this first pull, it's important to get aggro on these two because a lot of times DPS are impatient. So it looks like you got some aggro there. Running in. I like setting up markers for. First of all, your numbers are huge, dude. So I mean, all of that is just clutter. You don't really need any of that.
Ow. The
Um,
fuck?
and so that's blocking important information,
See?
like looking at health bars, being able to click on health bars and stuff like that instead of just frantically tabbing through to get kicks and stuff like that. So that's definitely a UI change I would look at. Um, Setting up a quick way to mark targets. Auto markers are nice, but at very least, setting up something for applying skull to a target is really nice. I use control plus numbers, so like control 1, for example, is my skull keybind, and then control 2 is like X, and then control 3 I believe is moon. Just the general ones that you throw out in a dungeon where you might say like CC moon or something like that. So that's always something good to set up. Um, Overall, the pack went pretty well. I was talking a bit, so I missed your positioning on the reavers there, but just utilizing as much of the platform as possible, trying to stay still so at the start so that you can get enough aggro and so that people can use their, you know, planted AoE. Here, I definitely like using a focus kick macro, so you can see that first cast went off and you can see how much your health got chunked for right off the bat. So the way that I handle this pull, I highly recommend setting up a focus kick macro. It doesn't look like you have one. Your Q is your kick. Um, so get a comfortable key binding for setting focus on something. I use Control T. It works okay. I probably could get a more comfortable key binding. That's just kind of what I'm used to because that's what I've used as a call target key binding in other games like Guild Wars and stuff. But if you can quickly, so going into this pull, if you can, right before you pull, click on and set skull, and then click on the death speaker here and set focus, and then that will allow you to, while you're doing all the craziness of setting up this pull, you can see how much more health you would have. Okay, first of all, you did get chunked a bit here. Oh, this must be your stagger or something. So looking at your health up here, yeah, you have half health. Watch it. You're taking a big heal and you're chunked even more. So suddenly you're down to a quarter. If you can get that first kick on the shadow core, that's huge. This is also a good example of a pull that's like a good blood spattered scale or something. Anything that is a big pull like this where they are on top of you very quickly and you're going to take a lot of damage and you simultaneously need to get a lot of aggro and stuff. Blood spattered or something like that is a good usage. I don't know if you have scale. I think as of recording this, you got it this evening, so you probably didn't have it for this run. This may even be the run that you got it, which is pretty cool if that's the case. Okay, see, that's kind of an awkward spirit placement, but as much as you can, pull it in. Looks like you're trying here. Um, yeah, so the focus kick macro is a big thing, and just get their health in a location where you can see it comfortably so that you can see the cast bar on whoever you have set focus, and that allows you to do all the other stuff that you need to focus on, and then just push your keybind for a kick, and you're taken care of. Really, really helps a lot. So positioning here is good for the spirit. If this is ever in a bad spot and you need to like skip it or something like that, sometimes it's not in a good position. You can actually skip it by jumping. for example, so let's say it's at the bottom of the stairs and you didn't want to wait that whole time. You can actually step on that corner right there and jump down and skip it and then come back to it at a later time. Also, speaking of pathing, I've started doing Ardenweald first. I like the pathing for it because it makes sure that you have Lust for Hakar. So what I've been doing is taking the first pull and then doing I know a lot of people do Woe. There's two options here. So if you do an Ardenweald pathing, you you could kill and then you go up the left side and you kill
Yeah, it doesn't fuck with those though.
you kill the pack there, and then you go
Except
in,
for
do the
Stabbing his
Ardenweald
ass.
and stuff. And then by the time you get to the broker boss, Lust should be ready, which is pretty helpful. If you take Woe, if you're just planning to do the normal amount of trash in Ardenweald, then it won't be back up before the broker boss, and that's one of the bosses that you really want it for. Broker and Hakar are the big ones, in my opinion. So if you do a Woe skip on the first pull
Joe's
in the
already dead
dungeon,
anyways.
what you can do is pull a lot more trash in Ardenweald. Set up your route so that you're planning on a skip in the Mechagon room. There's a couple different options to do that, but it's really easy now, especially with Woe. And if you do that, then you pull a ton of trash in Ardenweald, and Lust will be up for the boss. Okay, so right here, this pack, you did a great job. You want to pick this up first, in my opinion, and then engage this pack after. Sometimes you can do it either way, but getting a clean AoE off on these is good. It doesn't look like you're going to pull this as well. Yeah, it is fortified and raging. There we go. Probably would have pulled that a bit sooner. You didn't need to wait that long, because now what's going to happen is you're going to have stuff raging early. It's not a huge deal on this week, but on a week like Bolstering or something like that, or Sanguine, it's just kind of a bad habit to get into. And again, just optimize a little bit by marking Skull and stuff like that on just helps a little bit with, especially with pugging. Yeah, so you can see that the the warlords are getting low. They're about to enrage, and they also have their normal enrage thing that they do. So these can hurt. It's kind of nice as a monk though, because you're not gonna get one shot. You know, might take a big stagger tick. You just need to watch your stagger and drop it off, and it's pretty comfortable to kite them. So you're doing great here. I wouldn't really recommend kiting this direction. You want to kind of try to make progress towards wherever you're going next. It is kind of awkward with the... Oh, you guys are going back to Hakar. Oh, you're doing the old route. This is the... Yeah, this is the Season 2 route with the lieutenants. Or no, this is Season 1, because that would have given you Prideful for Hakar. Yeah, I haven't seen this route in a while. So anyways, this pack right here, yeah, I don't recommend this route, because even on fortified weeks, you do want Lust for Hakar. It's kind of a sucky boss, and the higher you go on keys, the more and more you need it, even on fortified.
Yeah.
And something that I didn't notice this, but this is from our conversation earlier. Again, I really do believe that explosives are largely the tank and healer's jobs. And that allows the DPS to focus on, getting the pack down as fast as possible. So kicks and killing explosives and holding aggro are your big priorities, and then damage and all that comes secondary. It is important and does help, but if you can maintain aggro on these big pulls, and you can get consistently the most kicks in the group, and you're managing the brunt of the explosions, then you're doing your job. So that explosion right there, nice job. Yeah, that's it. Sweet. Let's skip ahead a little bit here. Increase the play speed. All right, so these Deathwalkers, again, you just want to watch out when they die so that you're not getting clipped by the spirit. I think that big hit that you just took was from the spirit. So if you don't have a blood elf, so that makes it a little bit awkward. And I don't see classes. Oh, I can see it right down here. Yeah, you have no way to purge it, so you just really have to be careful not to let the spirits touch you. Yeah, you're going in right here, and you're gonna take another big hit. So you always walk past, and I like that you're I like that you're calling out the kicks here. This is easy to mess up if you don't have just a little bit of communication,
Yeah,
unless you're planning to
island
manage it
one.
all by yourself.
That should be up. Yeah, I got
With
it.
like a ROP and then a
just
leg sweep and whatever, like, just planning to cover the majority, but even then it's still helpful to call like you did. So this is all good. Let's jump ahead a bit. All right, now I'm kind of spoiled on this pack as a Death Knight because I just grip in that High Priest and then he's standing here and then I can pick up the aggro and it just goes a slight bit faster. But you did the right thing with pulling him, and then just wait in the line of sighting. That was all great. It's pretty standard pull. Again, just watch the spirits and the spins here on this pack. Not really much to say. Ooh, pretty low here. Let's see what happened here. Okay, so right here, you're taking damage from stagger. Okay, what hit you so bad there? A spirit in there? Oh, was that a spin? Yeah, you're just taking damage from... I don't know what's hitting you so bad there. Can use like lightning or something on those orbs. Doing a really good job of kiting those Deathwalkers so that you're not in melee range as they die. Just letting the melee take care of that. Cool. Yeah, and my knowledge of Brewmaster is probably my lowest out of all the tanks. So,
No.
if I say something that sounds weird, then I'm probably wrong. But I'm mostly going to try to stick to general tank things that we can improve on. So for example, back there, you were attacking the healer, and yeah, it's good to use your stuff, but there's moments where you could have still taken care of the explosives and let the DPS kill it. Yeah, so calling for Lust, it's just now up, so that worked out fairly decent, actually. I'm surprised it was up. I just don't do this route, so... All right, right here, you want to be using defensives for the piercing barbs, but the big one is make sure that you use right here for Blood Barrier. When he casts Blood Barrier, it deals damage to, first of all the Sons of Akar that are out, and it deals damage to the whole group. And the size of his barrier is reduced based on how much damage it deals to you. So if you pop some kind of a defensive there, then if everybody does that, especially, or like, for example, back when I was playing Priest, like I'd drop a barrier or something like that, or AMZ or whatever, those are good opportunities to make the barrier really, really small so that this first shield breaks almost instantly. And it should break pretty quickly anyways with Lust. Yeah, it's been up for a while. Honestly, if you're popping the defensives well, that should break almost instantly with Lust especially. But all these piercing barbs, just making sure that you have mitigation up for that. But saving your bigger cooldowns. There's really no reason not to rip a big cooldown on a blood barrier. So like this next blood barrier that's coming up, I would just use, Fort Brew, Zen Med, whatever. You're not going to need it for a bit. And it will help out the fight a lot. Oh, right there, taking extra
50-50
blood.
affix.
Eee. Okay, and so right here, you can't really do much about his positioning in the
It has
puddles.
some that are just,
But as
straight
soon as he
bomb.
breaks, you want to move him out of puddles. Try to keep, obviously try to keep him in spirits and stuff.
I guess
Oh
that's
yeah,
every
so your
server.
movement right here is really sporadic. You just drop blood on several different people, and they were doing it on you as well. Like there's no reason you should be moving right now. Just quiet your movement a bit. Stand still. So you just almost took another one from Clouds there. You just stepped into his circle. So there's really no big reason to be, moving here. It just makes it less predictable for other people to try to crowd in melee. You've got, a warrior, a Mistweaver that's trying to fit in the melee with you. You got a rogue. Everybody except for Pulga Jr. is in melee. So as much as you can quiet your movement and try to make it so that they can feel comfortable about standing there would help. And yeah, just moving them out of blood puddles and stuff. Oh, you just took that. Ooh. So Yeah, just being a little bit more intentional with movement, so that these blood, because that was a lot of extra healing that Cho didn't really have to do with all of those
I don't
blood
know if we're gonna be able
circles.
to do like the big juicers in Arden Wheel.
Okay, we're gonna skip running. Running's not interesting. Okay, you kill this here.
I was watching, but I didn't see.
This one
where
typically
she is.
doesn't have an urn, so it's fine to kill it here. Something like this, it can be helpful to look for. Oh my goodness, these hiccups.
Wait, what'd you ask?
It can be helpful to
think it was
look
like a 17
at your DPS cooldowns. I'm noticing you don't have any way to track DPS cooldowns. So if you can get an add-on like, I really like Omni CD. Omni CD, you can also your frame. These party frames are really inefficient. So you can click here, go to raid options, and then tick an option because I use basic Blizzard UI too.
Right.
Tick the option that shows always show raid style frames, and it's going to show it won't show their picture, it'll show a fatter bar, it'll show other information that's a little bit more helpful.
Yeah, marksman
and
target is
and then
PLL,
it works pretty well
should
to
be
have
doing a lot
Omni
more
CD
than
show.
6K.
And as a tank, you don't really need to know their defensives.
Yeah.
When I was a healer, that's more what I would focus on. I would know when they had, defensives and stuff or
'Cause he's from
immunities. But for
That makes sense.
sorry, I thought he was talking to me. He was talking about the Ragnaros player. So as a tank, you want it to be limited to really important information, like is meta up, is army up, is recklessness up. Recklessness is going to be up like every pull anyways, but just looking at cooldowns, like pick one for each class even, their major cooldown, and just kind of base it on that, because typically most classes damage rotation can be like narrowed down to when they pop one ability. Just figure out what that is for each spec, and add it into your interface as you go. But that can really help you choose, like, okay, do we pull this in Rage Spirit, or should we hold off and go just clear the easier trash in here? Because you don't really need cooldowns in this Mechagon room, for example,
Put it
because
over,
this
bro.
drill, your line of sighting so much and you don't really need it. So not really a huge deal to have cooldowns up,
Yes.
whereas you do
Oh,
want
okay.
them for the Raging
Yes.
Spirit. So
I didn't think about it
there's
that
a pretty
way.
cool pull that you can do right here. I'll see if you do it.
We have a lot more time than we realize.
See if you do it. No. Okay. So there's a pull here I love. A lot of people skip the Mechagon area, but I've got 2 or 3 pulls that I really recommend that have made this a lot more efficient for me. So what you do here is you wait till it's off on the side. Hopefully, ideally, it's moving as you get here, and that makes it really easy. Sometimes I type to the group, I say wait on drill, or something like that, because I'm going to pull something else that's with it. So in here, you see that dude right there, that drill? If you run up and taunt it, as a Death Knight, I pull it, because if he moves for too long, if you stand there for too long, you're going to pull the dog too. But the dog is over here in the hallway, and it actually doesn't come up until you pass a threshold right here. And so what I do as a Death Knight is I pull this up, I grip it, and then I drop my slow circle on the exploding machines over in this corner that you can't see. And that just clears them up for later. And what that does is it takes out a whole pull. Sometimes people pull just this guy and the dog by themselves, and that's so inefficient, because it's not really a hard pull to do that, but it is hard to pull him and the dog with the guys in the hallway. That's a big pull. That's a lot. That's tough. But pulling this guy with the drill makes it so that when you're line of sighting the drill, you can get full damage on the other dude. He just walks around the corner, and so it gives you something to do while you're killing with the drill. This position's fine. Is this the fake one? No, this is the real one. Yeah, this is all fine. Yeah, Hunter's trolling here. Fortunate. All right, so this is all just normal, easy. Okay, right here. You're going to pull this. I'm assuming you're pulling all this together, and I'm going to guess that this gets really rough, and these walk in, and somebody dies to the explosion, and then people die to the spins here and stuff, because that's usually what happens. Or maybe an smash, or you accidentally get the wrong one. Ooh, Rop is good here. Okay, nice. So Rop takes care of those. That's a nice part about being a monk. We'll see which one you get. Okay, you got very nice. This is actually going pretty well. But you can see how much it... Yeah, Cloud's getting killed by the spins. You got explosives that you can't reach
Fucking
anymore.
rock
There's
his
2 people.
discharge on me.
Yeah, and then that explosive right there is going to go off. Oh, you got it. Nice. So it's just this pull. Honestly, that didn't go as bad as I thought it would, but you did have 2 deaths, and it's just it's a tricky pull. So again, pulling that extra guy with the
Got the
drill
explosive.
makes it all those explosives. Oh, gosh. Yeah, this is the problem about kiting this week.
Yeah, I don't know, dog.
Unfortunate.
I'm not listening to you again, bro.
Listening to
I ain't
comms.
never inviting another person from Ragnon.
Yeah, so that could have been optimized with your pull order there.
I mean, it is
Okay,
still
so
possible,
right
but it's gonna be
here,
fucking tight, dude.
there's another cool pull I like. This drill, same deal. You pull it with the very first lubricator. So what you do is you actually ignore him. You walk into the next tunnel, and you could use ROP or something to knock away the exploding machines and taunt the lubricator. And then you actually tank it in that little hallway, and you line of sight right. You can't. It's hard to see it, but right over here under where your minimap is. So you tank them in the hallway here. And ROP would really help with preventing those machines from exploding on you. I struggle with that as a blood DK, but I like the pull so much that I just try to figure it out. And then you line of sight here, so you just go back and forth, and what that does is it takes out an entire pull of the lubricators. Okay, so I'm just gonna skip this drill because it's boring.
No.
All right, so
Damage
next
is
right
what
here. So this
Yeah,
it's
this
just
is an
getting
inefficient pull
one shot.
because right here you're
No,
having to knock these
same
back.
Oh,
Yeah.
OS these explosives, please.
Okay, and so this pull right here, you're having to kill the lubricator by itself, whereas you could have done that during the drill. So that cuts out an entire extra pull.
need
And it's-
weapon, dude.
And then right here, you kick these 2. It's good to call these out in advance. Just say like, use your auto marker or whatever, or mark them manually, and then just type in chat or say in comms. I got kicks on whatever skull or X. I got kicks on X, and then just alternate your stuff to get kicks on that. And DPS might ignore that, but it's better than nothing, and so you're not having lubricate casts go out like that while you still have the kick. I like that you're saying here that you'll get next kick. That's good. Just communicating that kind of stuff, especially since you guys are in comms. So this pull can kind of suck, but it can be helpful to save a backup kick for the self healing thing. So use your kicks on the lubricates and stuff like that, but always keep one in reserve. Looks like you used Touched of Death there. That's great. Keep something in reserve. Same deal with this pull. If you can set up kicks, this pull sucks. It really, really hurts. So this is usually where I pop AMZ, and yeah, when you start having DPS bleed out like this, the kicks, the casts just go through, and people just it snowballs. So that's a tough pull if you don't coordinate kicks. So as a DK, I try to alternate. I use just about every kick that I've got here. I use my
I pop
Mind Freeze. I use Grip. I use Asphyxiate. I even use Gorfines, A-Bomb. Like just try to do as many different kicks on myself. Like me manage as many kicks as I can.
I thought he said weapons.
So that less of
Thought I
the
did for a second too.
less of the
Adding
pressures on the
pumps.
group. But
It was so
all
much
right.
better last-
Skipping ahead. So kicks on Frostbolts are big here, and you want to hug the boss as close as you can
Yeah.
in order to intercept the beams. Ideally, DPS should be getting them, but if you're tight right up on the boss, then that lets them have the option, but at least you're the fail-safe. So, and you're lusting here. Okay, I'm curious how the broker boss is going to work. If you lust here, you lust typically on when Maleficent comes down. Yep, so you're doing a good job of tanking the beam there. It looks like a ranged grabbed it. Right here, you kind of want to, so see, you just pulled it out. Yeah, that made it really awkward. You got it, but it made the positioning for the laser awkward. Honestly, I would just recommend, like, if you feel uncomfortable with it and you find that you're having difficulty with accidentally moving out of the laser, just take the stun. Just alternate your defensives here and just plan on getting stunned. Or the second option is treat it like Anduin If you're standing like inside of his hitbox, then he's not going to move. But he is pretty. Yeah, so see right there. Well, he's casting, so he's not going to move anyways. But if you're like, if your hitbox is overlapping with his, he'll move a lot less often, and that makes it really helpful. There's a trick I love to do on Maleficent Manastorm right here. So when she comes down, you taunt her, do whatever, like lightning or whatever kind of initial aggro that you get, but then you immediately move over to the console panels over here, and that accomplishes two things. One, she's going to be standing there, and all of the chicken robots or whatever, not the chicken robots, the squirrel robots, they're going to run out in one hemisphere. Because right now, where she's standing, they could go any direction. So your healer is having to run around like a chicken with his head cut off, like a squirrel with his head cut off, trying to get all the bombs. But at very least, that just cuts out half the room. It makes it really easy. And then a second thing that lets you do is you can hover your mouse over the boss and just watch for when she casts the bomb and just spam right click. And most of the time, if you're standing on the center side of the room, what's going to happen is it'll pop up the gear and you'll click and you'll actually be able to cast disarming the robot by the time it gets out of range. And so you can actually handle most, if not all, of the robots. Now, if you have a lot of melee like this, it does make it awkward, especially if you have, like, for example, if you're Kyrian and you have your stupid little steward, that totally jacks it up. So pets, melee, it can mess it up a bit. So you want her tight against the wall. And then another thing that you can do to make it more guaranteed is you actually zoom in all the way. You scroll in until you're like right on top of her and you're staring at her model. And then you, and then you spam right clicks when she's casting it. And that actually makes it a lot more reliable to click the bombs. So that's just something extra. Your healers will love you, and tanks hardly ever do it. And if you can manage doing it, it's great. Something to watch out for though is when she's doing her buzzsaw, it hurts, especially on Tyrannical. And so if you're so focused on doing the bombs that you forget to pop a defensive and you just get one shot by her buzzsaw, it's not worth it. But it can be an extra level of optimization that you do, because you could be getting all these bombs and Cho doesn't have to keep running out. He could keep DPSing, and it literally doesn't take any extra. It doesn't take away from your damage or performance at all if you're doing it right. Whereas like a healer or a DPS has to leave the boss. You can just do it while doing your normal rotation. A third nice thing about tanking her over there on the consoles is everybody's already in position for when she does the chicken thing.
I hadn't thought about
So right
that.
here, if this bomb, this is the danger. I think this is the dangerous bomb. If this runs away, and then the person goes to defuse the bomb, and then they're the one that gets the circle to stun Maleficent, then a lot of times that causes a wipe. So say for example, I didn't see where the bomb went. They already got it. That was fast, but that can really, really suck. But if everybody's standing here, and if you're managing the bombs, then that just takes that error out. The key to pugging is just lots of little things that add up that eventually make your runs more consistent. So lots of little things that just, if two of those things happen, it would cause a wipe. But if you negate them, then your pugs are going to be way more successful. And the more that you can take upon yourself as a tank, as a leader of the group, the better your groups are going to perform. And sadly, most of the time, your groups aren't even going to notice it. But you're going to have a lot more successful runs. Okay, so this boss is...
And then, like, I mean,
Yeah.
like those
Here on
bombs,
Maleficent,
you just sort of, like,
it's the same thing, but instead of tanking her on the consoles, I actually like tanking her on the porthole to get out. And the exact same thing. But what that does is if you kill her in time, then you just jump in the porthole, and it's a little bit of extra movement time that's good. If you don't make it, she actually has to run across the entire room to get to the consoles to start the chicken barrage. And that gives you extra time, and most of the time you'll just kill her before she even makes it anyways. So that can be something that's nice.
Did I not get that? Oh.
Okay, let's skip here. Skip ahead to good old Ardenweald. This room sets up. It's very, very reliant on the tank to do this successfully. One thing back to the pull that I was saying at the beginning. where you go to Ardenweald first. What I like to do is after you do that first pull, you lust, you kill or if you're planning to skip, you do woe. But let's just say for this example. You come up here. The problem is the enraged spirit is walking up these steps right then. So you can't pull this big pack because he comes all the way to like here. So you can't do this pack. I was having trouble with that when I first started doing the Ardenweald pull because he would join and we'd just wipe and then people would leave. So instead what you do is you take this group and you pull them over here as quick as you can and then you taunt before the spirit touches this group. If he's close enough, if you taunt him, then it's going to social pull this as well. You don't want that. If he makes it in, just ignore him, let him do his thing, and then you taunt him when he gets over here. But you want to taunt him when he's on either side of the pack, far enough away so that he doesn't social. You should have time to pull this, get over here and taunt him though. And then what you do is you just kill that pack, just kind of work your way back and forth to avoid the masks. And then when it's dead, then you do this next pack. So that's what I like to do. It's worked pretty well. Okay, and you're probably going to pull this in with this pack, or at least you should. All right, again, focus kick macro, focusing the Death Speaker here, and getting that first Shadow Core cast is huge. You wouldn't be so low. Oh gosh, you're gonna. Oh, Cho, you beast.
Hey, you want to bring him over here, or
Yeah, and so right there, that's an example of you're like, because of missing that Death Speaker, you're so focused on trying to secure aggro and trying to survive and tunneling, looking at your health and stuff like that, that you didn't get a chance to bring them over, which was the whole goal, so that they could get stunned, because then all that damage would stop. So it's tricky.
Yeah, I think I might get my mage up because just dog shit.
But yeah. And little things like if you ROP on the far side, you can knock that one cultist that's on the far side of the Death Speaker over. Just little things like that can help out a lot. And ideally, your DPS should be helping with getting those initial kicks on the cultists as well, so that they start moving. But just get initial aggro, get a kick on the Death Speaker, move over, and just let the urn carry the. Let the urn do the initial setup on the group. Okay, so we're gonna skip ahead a little bit. Killed this, nice.
I'm gonna die.
And general shenanigans with the room. Okay, so right here, the pull that I like to do here is I run over, pull this pack. If the deer pack is close, I pull that as well. Pull this, and then over here pull the Spriggans, and that's pull 1 in this room. So that's how I divide. I'll talk through how I divide this room. So that would be pull 1.
Yo, do you want to know the other secret about my mage, dude?
Okay, so taking a long time to pull these Spriggans. And probably use Chi Torpedo and stuff like that a bit more effectively to get quick pulls. So what I would recommend, for example, is walk over to the left pack, use Rushing Jade Wind, torpedo through this pack, grab this pack, and then turn and taunt the deer. Or you could do this pack, taunt the deer, torpedo through, and then grab this pack, and then just, get the rest of the aggro on these Shrimmer Moths and group them up right here. But what ends up happening is you're not sure, should I get the deer? Oh no, they're too far away. Oh, I need to get that explosive. I should get these. And these moths have been smacking you in the back the whole time. So right here you should be tabbing over getting the explosives. So just setting up those big pulls a little faster. And so what's going to happen now is these deer are going to join late, and everything's already been popped. Spirits is ending. Yeah, Spirits is ending. All their DPS cooldowns have been popped, so it's going to take a long time. It's essentially like a new pack. It's a little bit efficient, but it would have been much better if they were all grouped at the start, and then everybody pops their stuff. So doing a good job kiting here. These Elder Horns, it's the Rune Stag, I think. But one of them can't be CC'd. I forget which. It's the Elder Horn. Elder Horn is going to walk right through that ROP. See if you can pull back and see an example of that. But so on like necrotic weeks and stuff like that, that's something to keep in mind. It's one of those annoying ads that you got to figure out something else. You're a monk though, so you can dash away and
last week was really
whatever. So you can see how long this pack is taking. They would have been dead a long time ago if they'd been pulled with the other pack. Okay, so pull 2 that I like to do is down here. I like to pull this Spriggan pack and this Deer pack. And typically people have already popped their big cooldowns. They don't really have a lot for this pack, so I wouldn't recommend pulling this in as an earn pull. This is just kind of like a small filler pull while people get their bigger cooldowns down, up, over, while they get their bigger cooldowns back. So this is good. Again, these numbers are driving me nuts. Those are way too big. There's some cool ones that like put them up the side or something, or just make them small, or even just the basic default ones are fine. But that would personally drive me nuts. I can't even see how much health there is if you're trying to tab around and find the high health target, or maybe like tab around and find the hatchling or whatever in the pack. Like you could have just clicked on it if you could actually see their health bars, but instead you're having to rely on tab targeting. Kiting here is good. Okay, so right here, this pull. What I like to do for my earn pull is I pull. So you first thing you want to focus on is where is the pat. If it's over here, it sucks. Just kind of go without it, whatever. If it's over here, then you can go ahead and pull all of this, and then go up and pull. There's the Spriggan pack here that's invisible. That is what kills DPS more than anything, because DPS are so dumb. This has been around since the very beginning, and everybody still does it. The DPS and healer run up and they say, we're going to stand on the urn. They're ready. And what ends up happening is they pull the Spriggans, and on a fortified week, they get killed. So it's really annoying. I haven't figured out a good way to manage it. You could go over here, because I pull these rune stags as well. You could go over here, pull the rune stags, go up, aggro the Spriggans, and then get it all, but that's so inefficient. What ends up happening is the DPS pull the trigger on the urn way too early. So I haven't found a good way to manage it. If you find one, let me know. But what I typically do is I try to pull the stags first, and then if the pat's close, I try to get it as well. And then I go loop around here, grab as many of these blade beaks as I can. I make sure that I always have blood spattered scale for this pull, because you need something to help you survive while they're following you and potentially punching you in the back, poking you in the back with their beaks. And then use your movement speed, get up here to the urn, secure aggro on the Spriggans, and then once it's popped, you pop every DPS cooldown that you possibly can, so that you can get as much aggro as you can, because as soon as they break, you got to kite. And it's not the damage from them that hurts. What it is the debuff from the birds. There's a beak looking debuff, and that increases your physical damage taken. And so the longer that you take them, you're just gonna start getting one shot. So you secure as much aggro as you can. Once that stack starts getting high, which will stack up quickly, you just start kiting back and forth along this. You have to be careful. There is this guy right here. He is, I feel like he's smarter than the other birds. He waits until you're done with this and you're kiting, and then he'll join and he'll refresh necrotic or your debuff stacks or whatever. So just watch out for him. So let's see how you manage this pull. This is honestly the potentially most difficult pull in dungeon, and it's the one that you need the most practice with. Okay, so you did this. Okay, they're dying to the Spriggans, sure enough, and they're running that way. It's messy. You get poked in the back. You don't have a healer. Oh, he's here. Never mind. Yep. Okay.
They were
yeah.
there.
So did someone pull? It was the Spriggans that I was talking about. So. Yep. If you don't trust your group, just go ahead and type it.
Yeah.
Say, don't go to earn until I'm there because of the Spriggans, and then they'll actually remember. But 9.5 times out of 10, they're going to run up there and die to the Spriggans. So, yep. Okay, let's see how you do it on the second time. Hopefully you didn't pop too many of your cooldowns. I'm not seeing anything. I would also recommend getting some kind of weak aura in the center of your screen. Something like Luxthos. Luxthos makes some good ones, but just having that key information in the middle of your screen rather than having to look way down here at your bars. Yeah. Okay, so you pulled the pat. It's all good. You could have pulled a lot more of those blade beaks. Okay, so doing a good job securing aggro here. He's finally getting the urn. Nice. And so you can see right here, you're only at 2 stacks of this beak debuff. So that's awesome. Let's see how much it stacks up as soon as they break. And watch how it affects your health. So you can look up here on the green. I'm going to read it for you.
Yeah.
So you are now... Oh, wow, it's about to fall off. How are you? Oh, you're dodging. That's why. Okay, up to 4,
Yeah,
5.
it kind of sucks because like I mean, I
Dodge
probably wouldn't
OP.
get busted if they give like any percentage.
That's
of
actually
like,
really good.
strength rank or something
I
like
go up into the teens like almost
that.
instantly
I remember it was
on my DK.
in, like BFA
Yeah,
spinning
nice.
strength
That's
would
actually really good.
heal a shit ton.
I didn't see if you pulled the rune stags, but you do want to. I recommend those. It works really well. Okay, hatchling. This is another instance where having some kind of keybind for a skull marker is good. Okay, nice. I think you touched a touch of death. That, yeah. Thank God. There you are. So that's good. Touch of Death is a great. That's a good usage for Touch of Death, I should say. Once you get this pack down, I like pulling all the way down the hallway for this next pull. So we'll turn back up your sound. It sounds like you guys aren't talking much, so maybe we'll get a little bit of game sound in here. So yep, pulling that, pull the moths, pull the elder horn, and then you get initial aggro, and then you move fast before the DPS think that you're going to stay here, and they drop all their stuff, and then you move them out of it. You get initial aggro, make sure the health bars are green. It looks like that means that you have aggro with your UI, and then you go down here and you grab the Spriggans down here in this little corridor. They're invisible, and for my route, at least with my percentage, that works really well. So this may finish it up for you. If it doesn't finish, then you'll probably, my guess is you'll do the boss, and then you'll get some more birds after. Okay, good Rob. Again, you're at 11 stacks, so you don't want to go back in, and yeah, you just went up to 12 again. So the more that refreshes, the worse it is. You want to get really strong aggro. Yeah, get really strong aggro right at the beginning, and then go out. Because every time you come back in, you're going to get chunked right here.
See what I can get away with.
Okay, it's about to drop off, so definitely don't go back in. Oh, there's just moths and deer left. You're good. Cool. All right. So yeah, you're still short on percentage.
Yo,
So
Rob
I'm
against warriors and PvP.
curious about what
not
you're gonna
good.
do for that. So you probably just get the birds after. Yep, there you go. Pick it up at the end.
There's a talent that you guys.
All right, so right here, I don't know how it works on Brewmaster, but on both my DH and my DK, maybe it's just because they're the, best anti-magic tanks. But I never take a portal here. I just use like AMS or some kind of defensive. Even on my DH, like I don't really need anything. It could be different on higher tyrannical, but on every key level that I've done so far in either of those, I haven't had to go up. So if you type that in chat, what that allows you to do is other DPS, especially in a group that's as melee heavy as this, it lets them have one extra portal option to go up, and that just helps avoid stupid deaths. So test it out, see how it works. If you don't take that much damage, then it could really help make your runs more reliable. And you want to move, I feel like you want to move the boss a little early. You kept her on the portals, and the DPS had to kind of guess if you were going to go that way or if you're going to go that way. So while they're
I don't know,
figuring that out, a lot of times melee DPS just stands in the portals, and they burn one. It doesn't matter too much for the first set, but the second set right here, this is the group-wide explosion. And that's a good way to get somebody killed. Other things, the Arcane Lightning. So there's not much for you to focus on this fight. So just watch the Arcane Lightning. If you have the raid style frames, you can see more easily who has debuffs and stuff like that. And you can manage dropping the Arcane Lightning on somebody else. It jumps to whoever's closest to you when the buff expires. So right here on Clouds, it's either going to jump to Cho or you. Okay, jump to you. So you can see right here, that's the effect for the Arcane Lightning. This is how many stacks you have. The more stacks you have, the more damage you're taking from this Arcane Lightning. And it just keeps refreshing it unless it is spread between 3 different people. If it's just the same 2 people, the duration's too long, and it's going to refresh it, and eventually somebody's just going to start getting one shot by the end of the fight. It hurts a lot. So at some point, you want to go pawn it off on a ranged. In this group, you only have one option, so it could be good, it could be bad. You could be dropping it between Clouds, you, and you know, Pika or whatever.
Yeah, last patch all 3 specs went crit verse.
But is this the real Pika, by the way? That's the real Pika. That's crazy.
I have.
So yeah, just trying to get it to the range at some point. Just watch the debuff timing and pawn it off on a range. That helps a lot. Okay, so you're pulling more trash here. That's all fine. Just make sure that you kill a hatchling and don't accidentally pull the entire room, because that's a good way to demoralize the entire group. Wiping on that. Okay, pulling more. Yep. So just getting a slightly more efficient. Like, you should come into Ardenweald knowing exactly what you need to pull, exactly how much trash you need to pull. That is an advantage of doing Ardenweald last, is if you're not totally sure, you can do what you just did, and you can, you know, kill extra. It's tough. What really feels bad is if you do Ardenweald first, and then you leave and you do the entire dungeon, and you get to Mazzala and you realize you're 1% off, and you got to run in here and find something to kill, and you're on the other side of the world, you know. So that can be that can suck. But just takes practice and planning. I love that you're using that DOS markers. So if you have keybinds, you can quickly mark the ground, and that's really helpful in groups, especially with like Ragnaros and Azerlon players and stuff, where communication might be an issue. It just gives that extra level of. If you ever need to find that, by the way, it's just Muzala. If you type in MU, it'll pop up right there, Muzala marker. Yeah, you found it. But yeah, just quickly throwing down marks can help. If you trust your group, if the group's gone well, you don't. I wouldn't recommend doing that unless you can do it quickly without really thinking about it. So right here, yep, killing Vi into So this pack right here, she's gonna spawn This is awkward. I found tanking this is awkward with these affixes. So you want to get aggro on these quickly, because otherwise they're just gonna run around. These relics do deal a surprising amount of damage to players. So if you don't pick them up, they could just walk around and cause that extra little bit of havoc that you don't really need. So right here, you want to pick up aggro as quickly as possible. Unfortunately, so I tank him up here. I tank the boss up here on this lip. And that helps bait the cosmic artifices. But what the problem is smacking you in the back. So if you're messing around with trying to position him and stuff like that, if you ever turn your back to Mazzala when he does a shadow crash or whatever it's called, you're dead. Like, so it's more important to be facing the boss for when he does his big tank smash than it is to be taking. If you're taking smacks to the back, it's a lot better than taking Mazzala smacks to the back. Soul Crusher, that's the name of it right there. So yeah, I don't know. I haven't found a super good way. I've just resolved to, as long as I have aggro on I'm going to focus on facing Mazzala. If you can kind of mentally track the timing for Soul Crusher and just make sure that you're facing Mazzala for those and you have a defensive up, then it's fine. So that's probably the best way to do it. But you went to the wrong side there. Took some extra damage. Okay, so you have 2 monks. I'm guessing that this is going to be super easy for you guys. Some confusion on who's going where.
Somewhere, dude. Just go somewhere. You're about to die.
I think I goofed.
Yeah, tank. Yeah, so
The
Cho.
one? Yep. Oh, I went with the hunter, so might be.
Well, whatever. Yeah, tank and healer, like, almost always goes front right. I've almost never seen that's just kind of the meta. If you see a group that has somebody that calls front right, maybe they're in a different region or they run with a different group or whatever. But I almost always see tanks and healers go. Nice touch of death. Tanks and healers almost always go front right. So nice job on the totem there. I would never have gotten that on either my DK or my DH. Their single target is so bad.
Yeah, but a DPS should be able to fucking do that on their own.
So
I had a 20 necrotic last week.
And then this is just rinse and repeat.
I don't know, 6 or 7 minutes
So
going to the final boss. Sweet result.
rinse and repeat, moving back and forth.
Oh, look at this.
Cool.
Thank
Is this the run?
God, dude.
Is this the run where you get the blood spattered? Yep, look at that.
Let's go.
This is the one. Nice, congrats. So that's going to really help for setting up those Arden Wield poles and stuff like that. So, all right. 49-minute review on a potentially 40-ish minute dungeon. So that's reasonable amount of time. Sorry for the length of the video, but I feel like we got some good talking points. So hope this was helpful. See you for the next one.